All right, guys, gals, welcome back to the podcast. I am super excited for today. Stratton and I met a few weeks back. He DM'd me on Instagram and kind of told me a little bit about what he's doing, his history with the industry and everything that he's done everything that he's done up to this point, and now what he is doing to help people within the industry. So, without further ado, Stratton, can you just kind of give us a little bit of an intro about yourself, what it is that you currently do, and yeah,
For sure.
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'd love to. Thanks, Rick. So, guys, gals, what's up? As Rick said, my name is Stratton Nielsen. I am currently a mental health therapist, and I'm a mindset coach and consultant for door-to-door sales reps and door-to-door companies. And prior to all that, I also pounded the pavement and knocked the doors myself. I actually sold for 4 years doing pest control. And then, along the way, I was studying psychology. That was my undergrad. And then I can go more into my story if we want to, Rick, but just to give the nuts and bolts, I experienced the door-to-door open me up to the idea that our mindset and our well-being affect not only our performance, but our quality of life. And my quality of life took a turn for the worse due to some mental and emotional challenges that led me to on my own journey of healing and learning and growing, and eventually led me to want to help others. And so that's what led me to become a coach and a therapist. And so this is the 5th year I've been working as a coach, helping other sales reps, teaching what I wish I would have known. And yeah, just want to bring as much value as I can to the door-to-door space because I love it. I think door-to-door is the ultimate personal growth opportunity. I think it can connect us more to who we really are than anything else. And so I love it. I'm grateful to be here to talk with you.
Wait, dude. Yeah, let's kind of break into that. I think as you were talking, something came to mind, right? And it's kind of the phases that we go through, not just in door to door, right? Because like my whole thing with this podcast is to be able to take the principles, the concepts, and the ideas that we share here. Yes, are they directly applicable to door to door? Yes, because that's what we're currently doing. But I want to get this to be to a point where this is applicable in all
Yeah,
facets
love
of
that.
life. So you mentioned something, and last time we spoke on the phone, how
Yeah,
the origin stories seem to have a lot of similarities, right? A lot of the same, not per se feelings, but emotions,
yeah.
similar events, right? That made us feel this way. Then based on our reactions and our response to those situations and life dealings to us, we have come out to this side where
Hmm.
we're at right now. So I feel like in life, so much as in door to door, there is the sense of I'm good. I am pretty emotionally intelligent and I can regulate my emotions. Okay, so I guess you can call it in phases, right? I guess that would be phase somewhere right there in the middle, right? Or on the
Mm-hmm.
healed side of things. And then you have your reps and your people in life who have no idea what is
Yeah,
coming, right? They're just kind of going through life. They're like, you know what? I'm just focusing on one day at a time. I got goals. I got this. I got that. And just life just hasn't slapped them in the face
yeah,
yet, right? And then you have your people who life has hit them in the face and they're kind of a little imbalanced, right?
yeah.
Like a boxer who gets hit with a left hook and he's like kind of like trying to balance himself. He's like I'm still good, like I'm still good, but what do I do? Like I wasn't expecting that. And then you got your people, I mean, if we're back into the boxing match, right? Who got hit with that
yeah,
perfect combination and they're on the
yeah.
ground and they got the referee counting down. And they're like, do I stay down or do I get up? So
That
yeah,
gave me
dude,
chills, man.
let's kind of talk. I mean, if you want, dude, like yeah, let's talk about that, man. Because I mean, this is this is so under talked about and so
Yeah,
understood.
yeah.
Like what happens in our lives. So yeah, I mean, other than the examples that I just brought up, and they're maybe not the best, but um, do you think we're missing another maybe phase in life that people find themselves in?
I love that analogy you just gave. I've never heard that one before, but I say we use it because I think it fits really well. Like there is that stage. Yeah, how about I'll share my story. And I think it like fits in. I can see how it connects to the analogy you just gave with the boxing match. So, at first I was, like I said, for 4 years I sold. And then for 2 of those years I recruited and managed teams. And I was the boxer at that point that was in the ring and hadn't been hit yet, right? And I just it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like, using your analogy, it's almost like I didn't think I could get hit. And I think that's what catches the boxer
Mm-hmm.
so off guard when they do, right? If you think you can't get hit and you do, no wonder you're like, whoa, you're off balance. So that really was my story. I mean, I'll try to make a long story short, but I was selling. If you would have asked me like, hey, are you stressed or anything like that? I would have said no. I would have been like, no, not really. Like, I'm fine. It's nothing I can't handle. I've got some, tools or some like affirmations, some positive self-talk
Mm-hmm.
going on. Like, I'm good. And all that stuff is great, but what I didn't realize at the time was everything that was going on under the surface. There was so much that I wasn't aware of because I didn't allow myself to be. I hadn't developed that inner safety yet that allowed me just to fully explore my thoughts, my emotions, and just to become friends with all the mess and the negativity that we all have, right? But either we're trying to avoid it and push it down, or we're trying to befriend it and heal it and overcome it, right? So I was at the point where I was still trying to push it down. And I think in that phase, the main advice that I gave myself or that I got from others was, hey, just avoid it. Like, avoid the mess, avoid the negativity, work harder, grind, and it will all take care of itself. So that's what I did. And I think that's the approach that most people take or that they're taught in life, but I think specifically in sales. And so that's what I did until that didn't work anymore. And then I entered the second phase you described, where I got hit and I started to feel off balance, right? And it was this weird, the way I got hit is, first, my body started giving me signs I could not ignore that there was stress and anxiety happening under the surface. And the first thing that happened is I got shingles, which you are not supposed to get at 22 years old. But I did. And the doctor told me this is stress related, right? Then, I kept trying to push through, kept trying to grind it out. And then the next thing that happened is I got adrenal fatigue. And I had to take all these pills and supplements because I was just exhausted all the time. And the doctor again was like, this is stress related. And, at that point I started looking a little closer at, okay, what might be stressing me out? And I started to get a glimpse of like, oh, I feel all this pressure to be the top performer or to be the leader that everyone looks up to. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm always afraid of, what if I bagel? Or what if I don't hit my goal? What if other people do better than me? So there was this performance anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and these expectations that I didn't even realize I had been trying to live up to. And yeah, it was burning me out trying to always live up to that. And so I started to get an idea, right? That like, okay, there's this stuff under the surface. That makes sense. But I still was in this part of the journey. I was still in that phase of like, hey, what will help me is I just need to change my mind. I just need to make everything more positive, right? And if I do that, if I find the right tips and tricks, then, I'll be good to go. Well, then the third phase came that you talked about, where finally it just gave me the perfect combo. The positive thinking, the affirmations, the journaling, it just wasn't working. Finally, I got to the point where I was having full on anxiety attacks. Like, my nervous system was just exhausted in fight or flight. And so I'm having all these panic attacks. That was when I went, like, I'm on the ground and I'm like, okay, I either stay here, like you said, or I get up. But I realized, like, I'm not getting up on my own. Like, I need some help. And so that was when I turned to therapy and I turned to coaching for myself. And I started seeing it help, right? Like, I was learning these different, like you said, I was gaining that emotional awareness and intelligence, and it was definitely helping. But I'll share one final thing, and then I want to hear, you share your piece too. But the final part of this story was, along the way, I also realized that there's a third that we can take to dealing with our mind and our
Mm-hmm.
emotions that no one is talking about. No one taught me it. Like, I couldn't, it just kind of, I stumbled across it, right? But this third approach was, I'd already tried of trying to avoid everything. Then I tried trying to like change my mind and make it better and struggle with it. And then, I found one day I could feel an anxiety attack coming on. And it was similar to the others where I could feel my heart was starting to beat, my thoughts were starting to race, and the relationship I'd had to anxiety attacks up until that point was I was terrified of them. And I would do everything to I was scared of them. But that was the first time where I had been meditating a lot and I'd been learning a lot about observing my thoughts and emotions instead of just getting lost in them. And what happened in that
Mm-hmm.
moment is it was like the clearest experience I'd had up until that point of I was suddenly aware that I wasn't the panic or the anxiety, but I was just observing it. It was just something that I was
Mm-hmm.
watching happen. And I was like aware that I'm in here, but I'm not my mind that's having all these thoughts and feelings. And there was just this extra
Mm-hmm.
space, right? And I think I like to think of that as what I don't think we talk about enough is that we actually don't have to change our mind and we don't have to like that's not the only option out there is just to find the right tools and tricks. There's actually another approach where instead of trying to just change our mind, we start to get curious about like who's in here noticing what the mind's doing? Who's in here noticing
Mm-hmm.
these thoughts and emotions?
Mm-hmm.
And, call it whatever you want. You can call it the observer or your true self, your spirit, your soul. What I don't know what to call it, right? That's for everyone to decide. But we all
Mm-hmm.
can have the experience of
Yeah.
like, I'm in here and I'm aware of all this stuff happening, but I don't have to let it run my life. I can actually learn to let this
Mm-hmm.
stuff go. It's in psychology, they call it transpersonal psychology, and it's also called spirituality, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just this idea that, like, if we can connect to the part of us that is aware and observing this stuff happening and get more space from all the noise won't have as much power over us. And that was what saved me. Because from that moment on, those anxiety attacks were never as hard or as scary to deal with because they just became something I could just watch and just observe. So, yeah, to use your analogy,
Mm-hmm.
that was like my journey of like I'm on the ground and then that realization is what helped me start along with the support and the people that taught me and helped me. That realization that I could change my
Mm-hmm.
relationship with my mind, that's what helped me get back up.
I love that. I love that 100% because it's very similar to what like a lot of reps or a lot of people really do, right? Like let's talk about it in the sense of okay, reps and door to door and people in life, right? They get to a point where like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing good, like you said, you have some positive self-talk, right? Let's talk where that comes from, right? You were going to school at the time, right? So you knew that this is
Right.
what you wanted to do. So you had an idea, some people might call it, I would at one point in my life call it an
Mm,
unfair advantage, right? It's like, dude, you know how the brain works, you know how emotions work, right? I say that at a time because then once I really got into sales, dude, there was a point in my life where I would buy, and I have them somewhere here in storage, college textbooks on
mm,
psychology.
wow.
And that's
Wow.
what I would read. Like I'm a massive nerd. Like I spent $300-400 on a college textbook as
I
a
love
college
that.
dropout, instead of like any of the books I have back there or like my bookshelf right here that's like actually on the wall filled with books. I'd be like, I'm just gonna go buy a college textbook. Like that's like what I
Yeah.
need to learn, right? Or where I feel like I could learn better from. So yeah, side tangent, sorry. You got that from your studies and what you're actually doing, which is what you wanted to do in life. And then people get it from and door to door from their leaders. They have this, you have the actual
Mm,
grounded and proven phrases and why these phrases are being said, right? Like where there are great leaders who have gone and done the work, have done the healing, and have done the psychological and emotional work to be able to tell their reps, hey, this is what has helped me. This is
Yeah.
why it has helped me. And maybe it could help you. And then you have your, what I call your social media gurus, right? It's like, oh, I saw this on Instagram. I saw this on TikTok. I saw this on Facebook, right? Or wherever you saw it from, right? But it's just surface
Yeah.
level, I guess if you can compare it, it's like,
Yeah.
I love Costco. It's like you're getting the Costco sample and then you buy it once at Costco, right? So maybe you've tasted it, you've built it, or sorry, you've
Yeah.
cooked it, whatever it may be, right? So you went from the sample to actually buying it. And then you have the people who have like, dude, I ordered this stuff on auto delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So they know what it is. They've done the work time and time and
Yeah.
time again, So with that being said, shit, I totally lost where I was going with that.
I hate that. You're good.
Sorry, dude,
See,
I get so distracted. Like when I get super excited, yeah, when I get super excited, like my mind goes on
I get that.
like a journey. Dude, it's like playing video games. I cannot play open world video games because I get stuck on all the side quests and I forget the
Yeah,
main
dude.
actual campaign.
I've been there, man. Uh, yeah, it totally just reminded me of this game I played forever ago called Skyrim. It had like all the right,
Bro,
dude.
don't.
That's like if you know. But I get you. The side quests,
Yeah,
yeah. And I'm right there. I'm the same way. I get excited. My mind's like, so no worries, dude. I liked where you were going though. What I was picking up from what you're saying is that like there's some people that can hear about stuff and then can go and share that, and then there's others that because of their own lived
mhm,
experience have been through it and had to learn it, and then they're sharing from that. That's what I was picking up. I don't know if
yep,
that's what you were
exactly.
trying to put down.
Yep, yeah, yes. I felt like I had another point that I was gonna do, but I kind of lost it along the way. But if it comes back, it comes back, and it's important. So we'll just see where the conversation flows, and hopefully I can connect the dots somewhere. Because I felt like it was leading to something big. So that being said, right, that's where you were at in the beginning, and then you actually go through the stuff that might let's call it, let's call it what it is. Kind
Yeah.
of breaks you a little bit. That stuff is hard. I know in the past, given in the industry and in the world, dude, like mental health has never been something that wasn't really talked about because it's so much voodoo and like all this perceived
Yeah.
kumbaya feelings, and it was almost like it was perceived as a pity party,
Yeah.
like woe is me. And one of the things that you brought up that was extremely important that I concur with and I support 1000% is you mentioned being able to you
Yeah.
mentioned support, right? Which means that you had
Yeah.
somebody to be able to talk to you, right? Whether that be your own therapist, you're
Yeah.
married, your wife, maybe some friends, right? And it wasn't less of like, here are my problems,
Mm.
feel sorry for me. It's, hey, this is what I'm going through. I lack the personal experience in life to be able to confront this and find a solution to
Yeah.
come out the other end. It's never like mental health to its core is not feel
Mm.
sorry for me. And if that's what you're looking for, then there are bigger problems that you have to
Yeah.
acknowledge first, which leads to a sense of lack of
Mm.
self awareness. But if you have the self awareness to know, hey, I lack in my abilities to be able to resolve what's currently on my plate or currently in front of me, then support is always, always going to be a better, I guess, alternative, a better route, a better option, a better place to look
Yeah.
more than anything. Right? Like you do it. You and I both know
Yeah.
Corey Clark really well. Being a part of his collective group, like a sense of community is
Yeah.
so important, especially when that community and that support group is self-aware enough to know that, hey, this is just
Yeah.
right now. This is not going to be like this forever. Let's break it down. Let's see where you're at. Let's see what may have happened or what you may have done. Actually, what you
Mm.
have done, right? Because this awareness is about accountability. And it's like, let's assess the problem. Let's assess what happen to get you to this point and figure out where maybe you
Yeah.
went wrong, maybe where you didn't account for something. And all life is a series of actions and consequences. So what you're feeling right now are the consequences of
Mm.
your actions in the past. But this consequence is temporary. What actions are you going to take today to get you the consequences that don't make you feel like you do right now, which is really like shit?
That's such a refreshing take, what you just explained about the fact that it doesn't matter the actions that have been taken in the past or the consequences we're having as a result. What matters most is that there's always that power in the moment to choose new actions, to choose something different. And
Hmm.
I completely agree that the key is that awareness. If there's no self-awareness, if there's no like space between us and just our habitual thoughts and feelings and habits and therefore actions, then it never changes. But I think either one
Hmm.
of like eventually, I think everybody will have the opportunity to step back and to really ask, like, what is driving my behaviors and actions? And is that what I want to drive my
Hmm.
behaviors and actions? And either life hitting you in the face will force you to do it, like me, like dealing with some hard, either physical, mental, or emotional challenges will do the trick. And it will make you go, wow, I need to start being more self aware, right? And not, I'd like to add too, not just self aware. I think self aware hyphen self connected, right? Like the more connected we are to ourself,
Hmm.
capital S, the more aware we are of
Hmm.
all that we're not, all the doubts and insecurities and weaknesses and negativity that,
Hmm.
yes, we experience because we have a human brain and a human body, but it's not us.
Hmm.
That's what our brain and body have been
Hmm.
conditioned to think or feel. Do you get what I'm saying? So like when we're connected to ourself,
Hmm.
capital S,
Yep.
you're right. We have all this power now, the power of awareness and the power of choice. And that power not only helps us sell
Hmm.
better, like it not only connects to performing better in sales, but like life, like in relationships. Like instead of being all wrapped up in stress and then we can't connect with our customers as well, or we can't be as creative in our responses on the doors, or we can't be as persistent. Like we're able to have that space to let go of the noise that would limit us, and we're able to engage with
Hmm.
that moment from a higher place. But the same translates to like instead of letting the stress affect how I treat my wife, with that, like if I'm connected to myself and I'm aware, then I can let go of that reactivity, that lower self that I'm describing here. And I can engage with my wife in a way that's
Hmm.
meaningful and that feels aligned with like, hey, this is how I want to show up for this person that's my best friend. So I love how you laid that out, because I think that's a fundamental truth that like in every moment it's possible for us to have that awareness and that power of choice. And to wrap up that thought, one way is life hits us in the head and we're forced to. I think the other way is you hear people talk like this and you go, wait,
Hmm.
that sounds important. Like something resonates. And maybe you haven't
Hmm.
had to get punched in the
Yep.
face by life, but you just go, something about that calls to me.
Yep.
I want to know more what they're talking about. I
Hmm.
want to know what that's like to be. Yeah, it
Yep.
seems like you
Yep.
connect with that too.
What, dude, it's crazy because so there's this I don't know if it's an old Chinese
Oh, I
proverb,
love
an old
these.
Chinese saying, whatever it is, right? But I remember hearing it. I remember hearing it when I was like 16 years old. So we're talking, I think it was 15, 16. So I'm 32 right now. Yeah, dude. Anyways, long story short,
Yeah,
half
yeah.
of my age ago, over 16 years ago, I heard this thing and it's always stuck with me. It's a fool learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others.
Yeah, yeah. There it is. Yeah.
So Like since then, maybe this is just me. Maybe this is whoever's listening to this, and maybe it's not you. But if it is you, like there's a sense and there's a power in being observant. I think it's my ADHD that really my brain fires on all cylinders 24/7. It doesn't stop, right? But once I started to feed my mind with, and once I started to recognize patterns within the data, that's when I started to really pick up
Mm,
on things. That's when I guess life changed for me. So I guess there is a lot, like you said, and there's nothing wrong to whoever's listening. There's nothing wrong and there's nothing bad about learning from your own mistakes because you have
yeah,
to learn from your own
for sure.
mistakes. I cannot sit here and tell you that milk bottle cookies in Waco, Texas are the best cookies on the planet if I have never been to Milk Bottle Cookies in Waco,
Yeah.
Texas, right? I go there regularly. The girls in the front, they know
I
me,
love it.
right? Yes, does my boss, right? Does my boss's wife run it? Yes. That's
Yeah.
besides the point, right? It's so good that I know all the cookies. I know when they come out. I know when they're in season. And I know that if friends come and visit, even if I haven't been to Milk Bottle in that week or in a few weeks, I can tell you, hey, this is what they're gonna have. This is what you should get.
Yeah.
Why? Because I've
Yeah.
learned from that, right? You learn from that. So there's nothing wrong with learning from your mistakes. It's just sometimes if you can see something and learn from it so you don't have to go through it in that moment, dope, do it. But I think there's also maybe new understanding that I don't think you can ever really learn fully of other people's mistakes. And I think the caveat is that if you learn from other people's mistakes, it would be the people who in life your current values,
Hmm.
goals align with. So if you're looking at like these business people or these people in life, right, who are doing what you want to do in whatever career path that may be, whatever capacity that they hold in their life and
Yeah.
in their careers, right? Mothers, doctors, lawyers, whatever that may be, right? It's the sense of, I mean, you're LDS.
Yeah.
I grew up LDS. And it's the sense of like that wisdom that you learn or those the lessons you learn from other people's mistakes. It's essentially like for us in the LDS world, like a
Hmm.
borrowed testimony. Like growing up, you just said what your parents said until you really fully believed it with all of your heart and
Yeah.
your soul, really. Because you had to go through the challenges. You had to go through not a faith crisis, but like a moment of weakness in your faith where you ask yourself, is this really true? Is this what I
Hmm.
actually believe in? And it wasn't until you learned it for yourself and you came out the other end that now you have your own testimony and
Yeah.
voice. So you're going to learn from these lessons. It doesn't make you a fool. I would like to update that quote by saying, a fool is a person who doesn't learn from his own
Hmm.
mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others in preparation for when they have to go through
Hmm.
something similar.
I second that update. I think that's great. It
I love this
well
conversation, bro.
it just brought something up for me too, that this is why I love door to door. And this is why I love coaching people in door to door, is because with just a little bit of not, I was going to say self-awareness. It's not, it's with the intention to become more aware and with the intention to work on yourself and connect to yourself. Door to door becomes the ultimate vehicle for your growth because it will challenge you. Like that's the beautiful thing about sales, but especially door to door sales, is that like it challenges you, it triggers you. It the way it's designed triggers some of the most basic human sensitivities, right? Rejection, scarcity with money, wanting the approval of others, right? Like wanting to be a better salesperson than
Mm-hmm.
others. It triggers, like you're working
Mm-hmm.
long hours. I mean, I could go on and on, but there's all these components of door to door sales that, based on our past conditioning, trigger us in some way, right? All of us get triggered by different things at different levels
Mm-hmm.
because we've all had, our brains have been programmed by different past experiences. but we all get triggered by something in door to door.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so easy
Yep.
to confirm for yourself, right? Go sell one day and you will very quickly realize that things are going to happen and it's going to create all sorts of reactive thoughts and emotions inside. And you're going to be feeling insecure and you're going to doubt yourself, or you're going to be feeling you're afraid to knock on that no soliciting door. Like, you're going to see, yes, there are things that you're sensitive to, but that's only a problem if you're trying to avoid getting triggered, right? If you're trying to avoid the things that you're not comfortable with, then yeah, door to door is a huge problem. And I think that's why a lot of people end up quitting, is because they go, nah, this is too uncomfortable. I don't want this. But if your end goal is actually to see what is beyond the parts of you that are uncomfortable, if your end goal is to see who you really are underneath those fears and those insecurities, well, then door-to-door sales becomes the best thing you could ever do, because it triggers you so much. Because now every time that you notice something having an impact on your inner state, like, I know one for me is I'd get a sale and I would feel so good, right? Like, we all know that feeling where you get that first sale of the day or the month or whatever, and you're like,
Yep.
woo, that sell high. But then 2 hours later, that sale would cancel. And all of a sudden my mental state is completely different. I'm feeling anxious, like, oh, what if I don't get another sale today? And, I'm feeling unsure about the other sales I've had up until that point. All these things happen. But like, if I look at that as, wait a minute, these circumstances, this sale canceling is showing me where a part of me is struggling. Like, there's a part of me that struggles with a sale canceling. There's a part of me that is uncomfortable with that and afraid of that. What a great opportunity to now work with that part of me and to love it, to learn from it. Like you said, to like learn about that pattern, to heal it, to let it go. And it's like, oh my gosh, imagine if we did that every time we were triggered by some challenge. The things that triggered and challenged us at the beginning of the summer would not trigger or challenge us the same towards the end. And then you think about, well, man, if we're struggling with themes during the summer that are also themes in life, things making us feel like we're not enough, or being afraid of the certain outcomes, like, the better we get at handling those uncomfortable things, the better we're going to be at handling them in life as well. And so what you said just made me go down that track, that like, if we're willing, even if we haven't been hit in the face ourselves, if we want to become more self-aware and we start to pay attention to the things that cause inner reactivity or inner problems, then we're going to have all these opportunities to start becoming more aware and working on ourselves. And it's going to benefit us not only in sales, but the rest of our lives as well. And if we do that, there may never need to be a point where we get absolutely smacked by life, because we've decided that, hey, like, I want to know. I guess in a way, for me, the feeling that my story eventually brought me to was like, I want to be free of my past conditioning. I want to be free of these parts of me that are so afraid and insecure in life. And if that means, like, whatever I got to do, I want to be free of that. And I think you're right that someone can have that without getting absolutely smacked in the face. I think someone can choose, they can hear something like this and go, I want that too. Like, in this one life I get, I don't want my life to be dictated by my personal fears and desires and insecurities. I want it to be intentional. And so, yeah, I'm going to do what I can to let go of these parts of me that would keep me in that reactive place.
I agree. Dude, there is so much power in what you just said. A choice. Crazy how everything comes back to just it being a choice. A choice that brought us to the situation, a choice to continue feeling the situation or the feelings that we feel because of this,
Yeah.
because of the consequences. This is extremely needed. Extremely needed. Dang. So, dude, like, what realistically, like, what can people do? Like, let's let's talk about it, right? Because at this point, like, we've talked so much about all these different things, and yes, it's good, like you and I have been through the work. We know people who
Yeah,
have been through the work, right?
it's
But for the
abstract.
listeners, like, who are listening, they're like, okay, yeah, 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 that's dope, that's
Yeah.
dope. But how do I get to that point? What are some things that you've done, right, when you first started, right? That can just kind of give people like maybe a little bit, maybe a lot of more clarity on how to approach these situations so that they could get to, I guess, the phase in life where we're at,
Hmm.
and that they can continue to do to
Yeah,
grow.
okay. I love the question. So, what can they do to continue their own growth or to start their own growth wherever, I guess, wherever they're at? Yeah, well, so first thing that comes to mind is I love that you and we like our journeys have been different. And so we may have different views or thoughts on that, which I think is vital. That's why I love Corey and what he's doing
Hmm.
and Jens Bonnell and others in the space, because I think that the sales space in general needs as many people that can share what's worked for them or what they've learned about from their own perspective as possible, because
Hmm.
different things are going to resonate with different people, right? So with that context, yeah, I'd love to share mine, and then I'd love to hear yours too, because I think you have a ton of
Okay.
value to share. I think my perspective would be number one, the first thing I think is to get clear on what you really want in life. And what I mean by that
Hmm.
is, like, so often when we're asked that question, like if I would have been asked that question a few years ago, and I think most of us, then the list would be external things, right? What do I want most in life? Well, maybe it's I
Yep.
want to have a certain lifestyle and I want the money that will afford me that, or I want to retire at a certain time, or I want the certain vacation house, or I want the certain wife or the certain amount of kids, or the list can go on, right? But we all could make our list of like if a genie just appeared out of nowhere and was like, make your list, what do you want, and I will grant it to you. We'd all have our things. But then,
Yep.
what if the genie said, okay, whatever's on your list, I'll give it to you with one condition, and that is that you will be completely miserable. You will always feel insecure. You'll always be unhappy and always be unmotivated. So you can have everything on your list, but it comes with those
Uh-huh.
conditions that you'll always just feel terrible. Suddenly, I think we'd all realize, like, wait a second, I don't want that. Like, those things on the list, like, I don't want those if I can't enjoy them, or if I can't, like, if I'm going to be feeling terrible and unhappy and miserable, then, like, that's not worth it. So then, the genie's like, okay, well, then tell me, like, what do you really want? And I'll grant it. And in that moment, if we're wise, I think what we'd say is, well, Genie, like, I want to be happy. I want to be confident. I want to feel motivated
Hmm.
always for the rest of my life. Like, no matter what comes my way, that's what I want. I want that inner state. And I imagine that the genie would be like, good choice.
Hmm.
That's what like, there you go. Okay, you have it. And I guess for me, what that analogy highlights is that if we realize that what we really want is, like, all of us, like, what we're really looking for is to have the optimal inner state every day of this precious life we're given. Well, then the question becomes, what's keeping me from that now? What right now is preventing me from already being unconditionally happy and confident and, stoked about life? And if we start to pay attention really quick, you'll notice it's our mind. It's we have this human mind that's been programmed by our past to have conditions. Like, that's literally what
Hmm.
conditioning is. And so our mind says, in these circumstances, I
Hmm.
can feel good about myself, I can be happy and confident, and in these circumstances, I can't. And that is,
Hmm.
there's an old text that's coming to mind right now It's a Zen Buddhist text, and it says, to set up what we like against what we dislike is the disease of the mind. Like, this is what it's talking about. It's saying if we have these conditions, these things that like we're attached to, like, I need life to be this way for me to be happy and feel good, or I can't have life be this way. As long as we're playing that conditional game, then our well-being will always depend on what's going on around us. So I would say, to answer your question, I'm coming full circle now. What can someone start doing? Well, if you realize that what you really want is to have an optimal inner state in this precious life that you're given, then the first step is to start paying attention to all those tiny moments throughout your day where something happens that takes you out of that, where something happens that causes you to be unhappy or unconfident, right? Because that is showing you where your conditioning is. It's showing you where there's parts of you that you need to heal and you need to let go of them. Because once you do, those won't be preventing you from being happy and confident right now. So I think if we start to pay attention to what's preventing us and we start letting that go, then naturally, I think we just more and more, we'd like start living and breathing into this place where our happiness, confidence, and the things we want just aren't as conditional anymore.
Yeah.
So those are some of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
And I can get a little more.
Dude, you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. Dude, let's
Okay, because I was gonna say we can get a little more practical, right? Like
dig.
That's the framework for it. But if we're talking like really bare bones, okay, what do I do? Well, what thousands of years of ancient wisdom, all the science would tell you is you need to have rituals in place that help you practice being aware. That help you practice being the awareness instead of being the reactivity. And there's lots, right? Like journaling could be a great one. My favorite is meditation. And I'm not talking about the like watching your breath, that I'm not talking about the concentration type meditation. I'm talking about the meditation where I like to call it stillness. It's literally this practice where every day in the morning and evening, I just sit still and I have one intention, and that's just to observe my thoughts and my emotions. And the reason I do that is because by observing them, not only am I aware of what's going on, but way more importantly, it reminds me that I'm not them. How could I be? I'm the one observing them. And that's connecting to my true self. And so I would say first step is having some rituals in place that every day remind you of what's really going on, that you have thoughts and emotions that will be passing through your mind all day long. You have to remember that you're not them. You have to stay centered. Now, that's not mandatory, but that's helpful. The mandatory part is that from the time you wake up and you go to bed, that you're vigilant. And that as you go throughout your day, whether in just regular life or in cells, that it's almost like you make it a game and you're just looking at life to say like, hey, I want to see what triggers insecurity today, or I want to see what circumstances where I notice feeling unhappy. And I'm going to watch for those moments where I'm in a negative state, because those are my practice opportunities. Those are the opportunities for me to pause and to go, wait a second. Like there's some part of me that believes or feels like I should be unhappy or insecure right now. But I don't believe that's true. And so you get to work with yourself. You get to work with your mind, right? And you get to I'll give a specific example and then kick it back over to you. A specific example in cells is you're getting dropped off in your area, you're pulling up to your cells area, and you notice as you enter the neighborhood, you've never been there before, your mind takes a scan, and for whatever reason, your mind says, this hood sucks. No one's going to buy in here. This won't do. Right there, is like something just happened. Your mind just caused your confidence to shake. It just told you that, you're not going to have any success in this hood. So, but here's the thing, right? If you have
Mm-hmm.
some space, you can question that. And we could look at, well, how does your mind know that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure people listening can relate. I have had
Mm-hmm.
so many areas where my mind said that, and then luckily for some reason I either forced myself or was forced to just knock it out anyway, and I totally got sales. And I had
Mm-hmm.
some areas where I'm like, thank goodness I was forced to just knock through that, right? Like our mind, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
know what it's talking about, but we just believe everything it says. So when you have that space, you can go, wait a minute, like, hey mind, I hear you saying that this area sucks, right? And I can feel these feelings of anxiety and doubt
Mm-hmm.
and like this urge to leave. But you know what? What I'd rather have than what you think is the perfect area is I'd rather be free of doing whatever you say. So if me staying in
Mm-hmm.
this hood is
Yep.
my way to be free from whatever you are telling me to do, then gosh darn it, I'm going to knock this hood and let's find out what happens. And I'm going to handle whatever feelings I have to. I'm just going to let myself feel that doubt, but I'm going to lean into this and do it anyway. And that's a specific example of
Yep.
if we could do that in the moments where we get triggered or we get dragged into negativity, dude, it would stop having so
Mm-hmm.
much power over us. Thanks for bearing with me. That's my take. Over to you.
No, no. It's, I feel like you hit all the heavy points. And it's like, all right, what else do I have to add to this? Yeah, no, I really agree 1000% with everything that you said. The one thing that I would personally add is just maybe coming from somebody who would hear all these things, I would question, what can I do? So maybe, well, maybe like the practicality of it on like a
Yeah.
day by day basis. So a lot of what you mentioned was awareness, right? And being able to like going into a hood, right? Because I've been there, like as you said, being dropped off of in hood and you're and thinking to yourself, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
sell anything in here.
Yeah.
I've been there. Get dropped off in hood and it's like you're like shit.
Huh.
And it's literally cut to the scene at the end of Finding Nemo when all the fishes finally get out of the tank and they're all celebrating and then they're like, now what? Well, that's how I felt. And so many times it's literally like a movie and I laugh at myself for it. Like these are like some of my favorite moments that I laugh at the most because it's so practical humor. It's like I just stand there and I'm like feel like Mr.
Yeah,
Bean. I don't know if
totally, dude.
you've seen Mr. Bean or if like the audience
Never get his faces
knows
out of
Mr.
my head.
That's how I feel. Like just like I love Mr. Bean. Crazy because yeah, I dude, I grew up on Mr. Bean, so I relate a lot of and I find a lot of humor from his movies in my life. But the practicality of it is like what are you doing to, I guess, be aware of these things? I think a lot of what you talked about is being aware and being able to recognize these things. So, like, what are you doing to be aware? What I've done personally, and it's helped out a ton of people, is one, separate your thoughts from
Yes.
yourself. And I go to the extreme of creating separate characters. Like we've all seen the movie
Oh yeah.
Inside Out, right? I love that movie. Made me cry, bro. I cried like a baby watching that movie. But that's just how I that's
Yeah.
just how I see it, you know? It's like you got your joy, you got your sadness, right? You got your anger, right? All these different
Yeah.
emotions that we feel. Anxiousness, like in the second one, it's just a separate individual. It's a separate part of who you are. And what I've done is uh I just
Yes.
have conversations with them. Like being able to separate what it is that your mind tells you and what you who you are right now and what you feel is, your truth coming from the back of your head, like that little voice in the back of your head. It's like sometimes you can do it in the most obscure or quick or efficient way possible. It's just the way that my mind processes. It's really fast. So it's like, all right, dude, like, what do you want? Like, why do you think that
Yes.
this area is not good? Why are you feeling this way, bro? It's like, stop. 'Cause at the end of the day, these are just voices. At the end of the day, this and this. Once you feel good here, then this tells the rest of the body to move. That voice
Yeah.
is not this. That voice, and for those listening, that voice, what I was pointing at is like once your heart is good with it, then it tells your brain to go, and your brain will send neurons to the rest of your body to
Yeah.
signal it to move. Those voices don't control your heart. Call it courage, call it, whatever it may be, right? But those voices don't dictate what you do. It's only if you give them power to take the.
Amen.
So
Hallelujah.
going back to that, right? Is once like being in an area where it's like,
Yeah.
crap, this is gonna suck. Then it's like, okay, like what did you the conversation between me and my voices is, all right, bro, like what did you see that I didn't see? And more often than not, that voice can't give you
Yeah.
anything. And if it is, and if you do hear any reasoning behind it, it's just like, well, like that house over there looks a little funny. And it's like, dude, that's you. We have so much in our sight. We can only see maybe 2 or 3 roads. And you know that the area that they drew you is massive. So how can
Right.
you dictate an entire area off of one house that you kind of visually saw, and you saw that the house color was a little off? Who's to say that they aren't hippies, right? Who's to say that they aren't weirdos like you
Yeah.
and you won't vibe with
Yeah.
them,
Oftentimes the one house that our mind is like, no, that one's definitely not, is the sale, right? It's like that. And it's so funny how often that happens where we're like, wow, yeah, my mind had no idea. Dude, I love what you shared. All I can say is ditto. Like for practical, down to earth advice on this, it's that with the awareness, you can notice when your mind is creating problems, when it's telling you things, trying to run the show, and then you can have a conversation with it. You can pause. And what I have found
Yep.
in, oh, yeah, go.
Ooh, actually, yeah, go for it. And then I have.
You go.
I think what keeps us from being able to have these conversations is the amount of chaos in ourselves that we almost lack control. The
Yes.
voices get too loud because our voice of who we are isn't loud enough and isn't confident enough. So what does that come down to? The overuse of caffeine, the overuse of stimulants, right? Like, yes, does it help you? Yes, but is it your fuel, like the gas in the tank? No. Like, what are you doing to keep a sense of peace in your mind?
Yeah.
Are you exercising? Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating the right amount of food? And it's like the more you do outside of these conversations, the more confident your voice will be when it confronts the other voices in your head. And it's the sense of, for me, water intake, going to the gym, reading, right? Because again, back to that Chinese proverb, a fool learns by his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of
Yeah.
others. What are you learning? Right? Like, what are you feeding your mind to give it confidence? If you're religious or spiritual, like, are you communicating with the higher deity? Call it God,
Yeah.
call it the universe, call it karma, whatever it may be. How is your communication with the higher power? What are you doing to strengthen yourself and to be at a point, to be peaceful and calm in these chaotic situations, to be able to confidently tell that other voice of anxiousness and fear that, hey, you're just being a little bitch, bro. Let's go.
Yeah. And to not, whatever you can do to not have to listen to that. Because you're right. I think the issue is that
Yep.
most of us, we don't realize that we aren't those voices. We've just spent so much time listening to
Hmm.
them and letting them run the show that it's so foreign when someone says, have you ever asked, who am I that is aware of these voices? A simple question like that points you right back to the truth that you're not the voices, you're not the thoughts or the emotions. You are, again, whatever you call it, you are the awareness, the
Yep.
soul, the observer in there that does not have to do whatever they say. You do not have to live your life shackled to the conditions that come from your past, right? Instead, you can step into that territory of the unknown and say, you know what, mind? I don't know how this area is going to be. The truth is, we never could know, but there's one way to find out, right? And obviously, there's times, I'm not saying like, if you get dropped off in a
Hmm.
trailer park, of course, there are times where we can listen to our mind because it's an amazing computer and it sometimes is right, right? Like a trailer park, depending on our service, may not
Hmm.
be the most productive environment. And so there's a time and place for wisdom, right? But
Hmm.
99% of the time, our mind is controlling us and telling us what to do when it really doesn't know what it's talking about, right? We say something in a conversation with someone, and later our
100%.
mind's like, why'd we say that? They probably think we're dumb. If we went and asked them, hey, did you think I'm dumb for saying that? They'd probably be like, I didn't even remember that you said it, right? So like it's just our mind creating all these
Hmm.
issues that we don't need to be enslaved to that. One last thing that I wanted to share with this is one of my greatest mentors. His name's Michael Singer. He wrote The Untethered Soul. He wrote The Surrender Experiment, two of my favorite books. He's
Ooh, I've heard of
Dude,
the
it
surrender
is
experiment.
so fire. It's my favorite book. It's like my Bible. But he says the greatest way to work with our mind is to love it to death. And the more that I've done this work for myself, the more
Mm.
I've seen that what those scared, insecure, weak parts of me really need, they don't need my shame. They don't need my, yelling or trying to whip them into shape. They need my love. And that part of me that's saying, hey, this area is
Hmm.
going to suck, it's saying that because it's afraid that I might not sell today. And so it needs my love. It needs me to say, it needs
Hmm.
that compassionate adult presence to say, hey, I see you. I see your fear. And you know what I want you to know? Even if we don't sell today, it'll be okay. I'll handle that. You don't need to be afraid of that
Hmm.
anymore. And I just find that the more I meet these parts of me with
Hmm.
love and compassion, the more that they stop creating so much noise. It's almost like they realize, I guess you're in charge now, so we don't have to be. So that's something, yeah, that it
Yeah.
feels important in my heart to leave is just, I think the best way we can have those conversations is from a place of love and understanding. I think we'll find a lot better results will come.
Hmm. Yep. 100%. I think we're on the ledge, right? And we gotta jump over to another side. Like I'm thinking of this moment in my childhood where I was camping and we had to make a pretty big jump. It was like one of these little cliffs, little ledge, a little bit of a drop, maybe like 10 feet, but little fatter, chunkier, not confident me was like, hell no, if I jump and I don't make it, I'm
Yeah.
gonna die. And that's what that is. It's that fear to
Yes.
take that leap. There's this quote that has been weighing on my heart for a long time, for a little bit, right? It just comes in subtle, super subtle. But over the last few days, going through something pretty hard in my life is something that Michael Jordan said. And it was, I never lost a game. I simply ran out of time.
Whoa. That's sick.
And it's this thing that sometimes we create these ideas and this fear because we don't want to lose. Being in the sales environment, we don't want to go home with a
Right.
bagel or a 0 day. In life, we don't want to do something for the fear of being made fun of and ridiculed and like feeling shame. I recently went home to California back
Yeah.
in like February. I was only supposed to be there for maybe a week at max. I ended up staying a month because I was in such a
Hmm.
dark place in life, going through okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. It was the end of a relationship that I thought was gonna be the last one, you know, and I was
Hmm.
having a hard time coming to terms with it, and just fighting to do whatever I can to do it. And we were out drinking with some of my best friends, and I remember one of my childhood best friends. Shout out to Ernie. If you ever listen to my podcast, we're outside the brewery and we're talking, and he opened up something to me, and then I opened up something to him, and I was like, dude, for the longest time, I was so ashamed to come home. Like I refused to go back to California for a long time. I avoided it like the plague because I was scared that I wasn't living up to my potential. I kept on comparing myself to all of my friends, where they're at in life, like living in a house that they bought, starting a family, having kids, right? And just seeing it from the outside was like, dude, I am who I am. And it's not to compare myself to them, but they have strengths that I don't have, and I have strengths that they don't have either. But I just felt shame because every time I went home, I was reminded of I'm not where I want to be. I'm not doing the things that I should be doing. I'm not doing the things that I should be doing at this point in life because of all the work that I put in. And I was extremely hard on myself. And he told me, it's like, dude, no one ever thinks that of you. No one ever says the things about you that you think we say about you or that we think about you. More often than not, we are scared of what people will say, and more importantly, what people will think. And we're more scared of what people will think because we know that people will never say what they think because they don't want to hurt our feelings. But we know we've been in those situations where, like, dude, they're thinking this of me, they're thinking that of me. It's like getting into a car after you've worked all day, knocked more doors than everybody else in your car group, and maybe more doors than everybody else in your office. You worked through lunch, you did everything you were supposed to do. Your phone died, your iPad died. You found a way to get everything charged back up and to keep going. And at the end of the day, you're the last person to get picked up, and you didn't get a sale. And what's that conversation like in the car group? If it's a positive car group and a good culture, it's like, dude, it's all good, man. Hey, we all have these days, things happen. You did everything you're supposed to do. But in our mind, we think, no, they think that I'm absolutely shit. I suck at my job. Why am I even doing this? Now it's a sense of comparison because we felt like that one day put us back so far for the summer.
Dude, that is so true. And I just realized that the time has flown, man. I wish I could stay on here the rest of the day with you, but I got to hop off to get on that other.
Shoot, yeah.
To get on. I know it flew by, which I think just shows what an awesome time this has been. So thank you, dude. And
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. One last thing before we leave. If you got 1 minute, parting words. If you can give one piece of advice,
Parting
what would that
words.
be? No pressure.
I think if I could give one parting thing, it would just be that it would be an invitation to look at sales not just as a way to make money or to advance your status in life, or even as a way to, provide for your family or your future. But I would invite people to consider that sales, if you look at it in the way we've talked about today, can help you connect more deeply to who you truly are and can help you let go of fears and insecurities and baggage that doesn't serve you. And so I would just invite people to lean into that. And first and foremost, to use sales for your personal growth and healing. And I also offer that if you do that, you'll end up selling better anyway.
Thank you. Thank you, Stratton. We're going to have to continue this podcast another time. I guarantee you all the listeners are going to be like, yo,
I would love to.
Follow up. So we'll text, get on your call. Thank you, brother. Love you, man. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll
Rick,
have a
thank
part
you,
two
man.
here
Thank
soon.
you so much, man. It was an honor to jam on here with you. Okay. See you, man.
Thanks, brother.
Bye.
Appreciate it. We'll see you.